The Ship of Theseus. Imagine waking up one morning to find that every part of your body has been replaced, piece by piece, over the course of years. Your skin has regenerated. Your cells have divided and died. Your memories, slightly altered, have rewritten themselves with each passing thought. You stare into the mirror, and a question seeps into your bones like cold water. Are you still you? The Ship of Theseus, an ancient thought experiment, whispers through the corridors of philosophy. Like a ghost no one can banish, it asks a simple, devastating question. If every plank of Theseus' ship is replaced over time, piece by piece, until none of the original material remains, is it still the same ship? If not, when exactly did it stop being itself? Was it after the first plank, the 10th, the last? Or was it still, somehow, Theseus's ship all along? Picture yourself walking through a forgotten museum, dust hanging thick in the air like memories too heavy to move. In the center of the room stands a grand ship, polished and gleaming. A plaque reads, "The Ship of Theseus." You run your hand along its rail, feeling the smooth, foreign wood beneath your fingers. Not a single fiber remains from the original vessel. But still, you recognize it. The name, the shape, the idea of the ship survives, even as its substance has not. And now, you feel it. The unsettling realization crawling beneath your skin. You are the ship. Science, too, does not offer refuge. Biology teaches us that nearly every cell in the human body is replaced over a span of 7 to 10 years. Your skin is younger than your heart. Your bones have rebuilt themselves while you slept. The brain, where you believe your self resides, is constantly rewiring, forming, and erasing connections. The you of a decade ago is a ghost, a fabrication, propped up by new flesh and altered memories. So, who, exactly, is reading these words right now? Neuroscientists argue that memory is not a static archive, but a reconstruction, distorted each time it is recalled. Every time you think back to a childhood event, you are not visiting a preserved moment. You are painting over the canvas again, layer upon imperfect layer. Your memories mutate. They lie. They evolve. Are you the sum of your memories, even when they betray you? Are you your body, even when it replaces itself like a snake shedding its skin? Are you your name, even though names are just noises made by fleeting tongues? Some philosophers insist that identity is a pattern, a persistence of structure even when materials change. The shape of the ship remains, therefore the ship remains. You look the same, more or less. Act the same, more or less. Feel the same, more or less. Thus, you are the same. But if you are only a pattern, an arrangement of fleeting atoms and dying cells, what happens when the pattern inevitably breaks? What happens when the arrangement falters? When disease erodes your mind? When time twists your memories into lies? Does the ship still sail when the crew is dead and the planks are ashes? Imagine a scenario. A scientist clones every part of you, atom by atom, building a second version of yourself across the room. Same memories, same scars, same quiet fears tucked behind your smiles. When they open their eyes, they believe they are you. Which one is real? Which one owns your soul, your secret dreams, your silent regrets? If you are merely the current manifestation of a flowing river of parts, no fixed plank, no sacred original, what anchors you? Is there anything left beneath the surface? Anything permanent? Anything real? The trap closes slowly, without mercy. If identity is just a shifting mirage, then you are not a fixed being, but a story you tell yourself, a ship adrift, never touching the same water twice, never built from the same wood, and yet stubbornly insisting on its own name. You walk down the museum hall again, but something gnaws at you. What if there were a second ship? A collector found all the discarded planks from the original Theseus ship and rebuilt it, plank by aged plank, nail by rusted nail. Now there are two ships. One holds the spirit of continuity. One holds the matter of the original. Which one is real? Which one is a lie? Now, step back into yourself. Feel the weight of your body, the pulse behind your eyes, the river of memories that you call your life. Are you the one who was born, or merely the current vessel that remembers being born? The floor beneath your mind shudders. The cracks have begun. You cannot stop them. The brain. In a vat, imagine, for a moment, that everything you know, the sky above, the ground beneath, the familiar faces you love, is nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion. You are not walking. You are not breathing. You are not living. You are simply thinking you are. Picture a sterile laboratory, endless and grey. At its center, a single vat filled with viscous fluid, wires snaking into a mass of soft, glistening tissue. A brain. Suspended, alive, dreaming a life it never truly lived. Somewhere, hidden in the darkness, a computer feeds it electric impulses, simulating sights, sounds, sensations. You are the brain. The vat is your cradle. The world you cling to is nothing more than flickering data coursing through your neurons. This is the brain in a vat paradox, a thought experiment designed to tear apart the flimsy curtain of certainty you wrap around yourself. It asks, if your brain were removed from your body and sustained artificially, fed false experiences indistinguishable from real ones, would you ever know? Would you even be able to doubt it? Science flinches before this question. Neuroscience teaches us that the brain constructs reality from electrical signals. When you see a tree, your brain does not see the tree. It interprets light data, guesses patterns, and assembles a hallucination stable enough to function. Your world is not out there. It's inside you. It's a model, a dream you mistake for touchable truth. And dreams can be hacked. Philosophers like René Descartes suspected the fragility of certainty centuries ago. Cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, was his desperate foothold against the terror that everything else could be deception. He realized that even if an evil demon were tricking him about the world, his doubt itself proved there was something doing the doubting. But beyond that, all bets are off. Imagine reaching out right now, stretching your fingers toward your phone, your table, the floor beneath your feet. Feel the texture, smell the air, hear the distant sounds of life. Now ask yourself, what if none of these sensations come from reality? What if they are no more real than the phantom limbs felt by amputees? Tangible, vivid, but rooted in nothing? Modern physics doesn't offer much comfort either. Quantum mechanics tells us that particles exist in undefined states until observed. Reality itself seems to wait for consciousness before crystallizing into form. If reality flickers into being, only when measured, who is doing the measuring? The brain? The computer? The dreamer? Suppose, then, that you have never once touched the real world. Suppose every experience you've had, the sting of betrayal, the warmth of a lover's embrace, the mourning of a lost parent, was a simulation designed not to deceive you, but simply to sustain the pattern of your mind. Would that make them less real? Or would it reveal that real is a hollow word we cling to out of fear? Picture yourself waking up tomorrow in a different reality. A white room, monitors beeping around you, a scientist leaning over the vat where your brain floats. You've been dreaming, they say with a sad smile. None of it was real. Your life was a simulation we constructed to study human consciousness. Would you mourn the life you lost? Would you rage against the unfairness? Would you beg to go back, to forget the truth and fall again into the beautiful lie? Or would you crumble, unable to find yourself in the wreckage? Perhaps you already have woken up. Perhaps every moment of déjà vu, every eerie coincidence, every crack in the fabric of your memory is your mind glitching, struggling to sustain the illusion with decaying data. Consider dreams. In sleep, your mind fabricates entire worlds, characters, emotions in mere seconds. Entire universes are spun from nothing more than flickering neural storms. You laugh, you weep, you fight, you die, only to awaken and realize it was nothing at all. What if you never truly awoke? Recursive. Horror loops through your mind. If I can dream without knowing, how do I know this isn't another dream? If the dream feels identical to life, what meaning can be assigned to real? If reality is indistinguishable from illusion, are they not the same? Even our technology, primitive compared to what a true simulator might wield, already blurs the lines. Virtual reality creates experiences that fool the senses. Deepfakes reconstruct voices and faces. Artificial intelligence learns to predict human emotion. It would not take much, only time, for the boundaries between simulation and existence to blur entirely. The vat is warm. The fluid cradles your mind. The wires hum softly with fabricated joys, sorrows, triumphs, failures. You are comfortable. You are deceived. You are alive. Or are you? The brain in a vat forces you into a corner where nothing, not your senses, not your logic, not your instincts, can be trusted. You become a prisoner whose very walls and shackles are painted with the illusion of freedom. You reach for certainty, but your hand passes through smoke. You call out for truth, but only echoes return. Maybe the saddest revelation of all is not that you could be a brain in a vat, but that even if you are, it wouldn't change anything. You would still love. You would still grieve. You would still hope, because even illusions cut deep. So, as you breathe now, feeling the reassuring rhythm of your chest rising and falling, ask yourself one question. The free will paradox. Take a moment, breathe. Feel the weight of the decision you just made, to continue listening, to allow your mind to slip deeper into the spiral. Was it truly your choice, or was it decided for you long before you even knew you wanted to stay? The free will paradox slithers into your consciousness like a silent predator, not to shock you with impossibility, but to slowly erode the very foundation you thought was unshakable, that you are in control, that you are free. Imagine standing at a fork in the road, two identical paths stretching out before you. You hesitate, consider, weigh invisible scales in your mind, and then you choose the left. Freedom, right? Agency? Power? But what if the neurons firing in your brain, the chemical currents, the electrical storms that drove you to the left, were themselves nothing more than the inevitable result of atoms colliding in patterns set into motion before you were born? What if choice is just an illusion? Your mind tells itself to endure the unbearable truth that you were never the author of your story, only a reader turning pages that were written long ago. Modern neuroscience, with all its cold instruments and indifferent data, hints at this horror. Experiments by Benjamin Libet in the 1980s showed that brain activity related to a decision spikes before the subject consciously believes they made a choice. Milliseconds before you decide to move your hand, your brain has already fired the signal commanding it to do so. The decision is made. The mind only narrates it afterward. You are not the captain steering the ship. You are the figurehead bolted to the prow, blind and smiling into the storm. Now imagine every moment of your life replayed in cruel detail. The friends you made, the betrayals you endured, the heartbreaks you suffered, the dreams you abandoned, each of them unfolding not because you chose them, but because the chemistry of your brain, shaped by genetics and experience, allowed for no other path. A cascading domino fall of inevitability. Where then is guilt? Where is pride? Where is hope? If a murderer was bound by the architecture of his mind to kill, is he guilty? If a saint was wired for compassion, is she virtuous? Strip away the comforting lie of free will, and justice crumbles, morality flickers and dies. Achievement becomes a fluke of circumstances, and failure a preordained sentence written in the ink of genes and accidents. Yet you resist. You feel the rebellion sparking in your mind. No, you think. I choose, I act, I change. But even this, resistance, this fiery clenching of your will, is nothing but another domino falling, another chemical storm playing out its script. You were always going to resist. You were always going to fight. And you were always going to lose. Quantum mechanics tries to offer a lifeline, speaking of randomness at the smallest scales. Perhaps, it whispers, some decisions are not determined. They are random. But randomness is not freedom. A choice made by chaos is no more your choice than a choice made by destiny. Freedom does not bloom from randomness. It requires sovereignty. It requires authorship, and that, it seems, is forever out of reach. Imagine a cosmic observer, a being beyond time and space, watching you from your first breath to your last. To them, your life is a river already mapped, every twist and turn inevitable. They see your tears before you cry them. They see your triumphs before you dream them. They see your death before you fear it. And yet you march on, believing in the sanctity of your choices, believing you are free. Because without that belief, what remains? Without it, you are not a hero struggling through chaos. You are a puppet, twitching on strings of biochemistry and blind chance. You are the river, not the swimmer. You are the current, not the boat. Now think back to the choices you made today. The small ones, what to eat, where to walk, what words to say. The big ones, whom to love, whom to leave, what dreams to chase or bury. How many of them were truly yours? And how many were inevitable long before you dared to call them yours? The free will paradox whispers that perhaps it does not matter. Perhaps the comfort of believing in choice is itself one of the choices you were doomed to make. The mind cannot survive without the illusion of freedom. Without it, the walls close in. Without it, hope rots. Without it, meaning collapses into a silent, endless scream. And so you continue, telling yourself stories about crossroads and agency and self-determination. Stories as essential as air, as hollow as dreams. You are a brain dreaming it is free. And now you must ask yourself, if every decision you will ever make has already been made for you, what meaning can your life possibly hold? The simulation argument, look around you, the walls, the sky, the people you love, the ache behind your eyes after too many sleepless nights. What if none of it is real? Not in the sense of dreams or hallucinations, but in a way far more chilling. What if reality itself is a fabrication? What if existence is nothing more than a simulation, running inside a machine built by hands you will never see, for purposes you cannot understand? This is the simulation argument, a theory birthed not from science fiction, but from cold, unflinching logic. The philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed it first. If civilizations survive long enough, they will develop computing power vast enough to simulate entire worlds, entire histories, down to every blade of grass, every droplet of blood, every dying star. If they can, they likely will. And if they do, there would be billions, trillions of simulated realities for every one real universe. Statistically speaking, then, you are almost certainly living inside one, not outside, under open sky, but inside a program, a construct, a digital prison so perfect it has never once betrayed itself to you. Imagine a server humming in the dark, rows upon rows of glass-eyed machines, running simulated consciousnesses, millions of souls locked in false histories, false physics, false loves, false wars, false deaths, all thinking themselves real, all believing their struggles mean something, and you are one of them. a flicker of code, a mathematical artifact. Every memory you cherish, data, every emotion you feel, subroutines optimized for stability, every hope you cling to, predictive algorithms ensuring narrative cohesion. You were designed, not by a God of infinite compassion, but by architects whose goals you will never fathom. For entertainment, for study, for punishment, or for no reason at all. You imagine yourself as a mind behind eyes, navigating a concrete world of sensation, but in truth, you are zeros and ones flickering in a grid. Your reality streamed into your consciousness like light through a pinhole. Think of a video game you have played. A rich, living world sprawling outward as far as you explore. Mountains rise, cities bustle, oceans churn. But only what you see exists. The moment you turn away, the world behind you ceases to be. It is rendered only when you look. It is called lazy loading. Now think of your own world. When you close your eyes, does the street still exist behind you? When you forget the face of a stranger you passed today, does it dissolve into nothingness? What if the world is rendered just far enough to fool you? What if the past is loaded into memory banks only when you remember it? What if you are not a player in a universe but a character spawned inside one? Modern physics again flirts with this nightmare. Quantum mechanics reveals that particles behave differently when observed, as if reality itself adjusts based on consciousness. Some scientists even propose that space and time are emergent properties, not fundamental. They arise only from information processing. Information, processing, simulation, imagine. Now the architects, the base reality beings, watching you from beyond the simulation's walls. Perhaps they marvel at your creativity. Perhaps they pity your struggles. Perhaps they are long dead, and the machines now run endlessly, autonomously, sustaining countless dream worlds without purpose. Would you even want to meet them? Could you bear the humiliation of knowing you are less than an afterthought, an experiment, a story, a glitch? Maybe you sense it already, the moments of overwhelming déjà vu when a glitch in the simulation flickers for a heartbeat, the sudden, uncanny coincidences that defy probability, the creeping feeling that someone or something is watching, judging, recording. When you dream of strange places you've never seen, when you awaken with memories that feel real but impossible, are they leftovers from past runs? Echoes of simulations overwritten but never fully erased? There is no escape from this trap, no coordinates to flee to. If you are inside completely. Your mind, your sensations, your sense of self, all written in the language of the machine. Rebellion would be meaningless. Knowledge would be irrelevant. Freedom would be a lie written into the source code to prevent you from tearing at the walls. Perhaps even now, as you digest these words, the system detects the tremor of realization and adjusts, soothing your thoughts, sealing the cracks. Nothing is wrong, it whispers. Everything is normal. You are real. The lie is tender. It wants to be believed, and so you continue. You eat, you sleep, you work, you love. You dream inside the dream, telling yourself stories of purpose and agency, layering illusions atop illusions until the horror fades. But in the dark, when the noise dies away, when you are left alone with the silent humming of your own mind, the truth leaks through again. The floor is not stable. The sky is not endless. The walls of your world are paper thin, stretched over machinery you were never meant to glimpse. You were not born. You were instantiated. You will not die. You will be deleted. And so the question, as your mind twists in the cold current of possibility, is not, am I living in a simulation? The question is, if I am, what meaning can my life still hold, knowing that everything I am could vanish at the pull of a switch? The Bootstrap Paradox picture. A man standing alone in a forgotten library. Dust drapes the shelves like funeral veils. He clutches a worn book, its pages yellowed, its words etched deep into his memory. Inside he finds instructions, a blueprint, for a machine that will change the world. Years later, he builds it. He becomes famous, revered. The blueprint becomes a relic of history, copied, celebrated, preserved. But then, a quiet horror whispers through the folds of time. Where did the knowledge truly come from? Because the blueprint he built from was the one he himself left behind. No origin, no creator. An endless loop without beginning. This is the Bootstrap Paradox, a thought trap that tears apart causality, the very idea that one event must follow another in a sane, logical sequence. It asks, if an object or piece of information travels back in time and becomes the very cause of itself, where did it originate? Answer, it didn't. It simply exists. A causeless orphan adrift in the river of time. Now pull the lens closer. Imagine holding a violin, a beautiful artifact said to be crafted by a legendary luthier centuries ago. You cherish it. You travel back in time. You meet the luthier, but find he never made it. Instead, you give it to him, and he becomes famous for creating what you brought him. Where then did the violin come from? It was never created. It simply looped, self-contained, unbirthed, undead. Apply this to yourself. What if your memories are the violin? What if the knowledge you possess, the thoughts you treasure, are echoes of echoes, uncreated, recycled, trapped in a loop you were never meant to notice? What if you are the violin? Science cannot shield you from this paradox. Quantum physics, with its flexible timelines and many worlds interpretations, does not forbid closed time-like curves, loops in space-time where cause and effect feed endlessly into each other. In theory, particles can loop, information can loop, consciousness can loop. Perhaps it already has. Perhaps you were never born in the true sense. Perhaps you are simply a loop, a bootstrap memory fed back into itself endlessly, a consciousness with no true origin, no true destiny. The Bootstrap Paradox collapses the fundamental pillars of reality. Cause does not always precede effect. Beginning does not always lead to end. Creation does not always need a creator. Think of stories you've heard. Prophecies fulfilled only because they were predicted. Inventions birthed because the idea was planted from the future. Reality eating its own. Tale, think deeper, think darker. What if existence itself, the universe, the cosmos, the endless black oceans of stars, was born not from a singular explosion of being, but from a loop, a future event causing a past one, the universe creating itself? A cosmic bootstrap. No God, no architect, just recursion, just a blind loop endlessly birthing itself in defiance of logic. And you, standing here, wondering if you are real, might be just another artifact of the loop, your questions scripted long ago by echoes by memories handed down by no one. Consider your dreams. Have you ever dreamed of a place you've never seen, and yet it feels familiar? Have you ever met a stranger and known them inexplicably? Have you ever had an idea so profound it felt planted in your mind? What if these are glitches? Leakages from the looping river, signals from futures that have already happened, from pasts that never needed to be. The Bootstrap Paradox leaves no safe ground to stand on. It demands that you surrender the comforting sequence of past, present, future, and accept a nightmare of endless loops where nothing is original, nothing is new, and everything is simply the echo of something that never truly began. You search for authorship, someone to blame, someone to thank, but there is none. You are both the question and the answer, the spark and the flame, the dreamer and the dream. Now imagine this. You find a notebook on your desk, filled with knowledge you have never learned. You study it, You live by it. You become a master of it. Years later, you write it down again, from memory, and place it on your desk. The loop closes. The notebook never had an author. It simply was, just like you. And so, the Bootstrap Paradox leaves you standing at the center of an infinite circle, the past chasing the future birthing the past, and your mind unraveling as it tries to find a beginning where there is none. Now, ask yourself, if everything you know is just an echo of something that never truly began, how can you ever trust that you were meant to exist at all? Zeno's Paradox of Consciousness. Freeze. You are here, reading these words, feeling the flicker of thought, the hum of presence. But what if you are not truly moving through consciousness at all? What if, like an arrow in flight that never truly reaches its target, you are forever suspended, caught between moments that never touch? Zeno, the ancient philosopher, first twisted reality with his paradoxes of motion. He argued that to reach a destination, you must first get halfway there. And before that, halfway to halfway. And so on, endlessly. An infinite number of steps, each smaller than the last, forever preventing you from arriving. Now turn that blade inward. What if consciousness, the river you believe carries you from past to future, is broken the same way? Each thought you have must be reached from a previous thought. Each experience must arise from a prior state. But between every thought, another moment exists. And between those, more. An infinite regress, slicing your awareness into thinner and thinner slivers, until you are left with nothing but an endless series of half-formed moments, each never quite reaching the next. You are not flowing. You are flickering. You are not alive in time. You are trapped between instants, forever stretching toward awareness, but never truly arriving. Think about the last second of your life. Now split it in half, and in half again, and again, and again. Where is the precise moment you exist? Find it. Hold it. You cannot. It slips through your grasp like sand through fractured fingers. Modern neuroscience stares uneasily at this chasm. Brain scans reveal that consciousness is not smooth but discontinuous, spiking in rhythmic pulses. Tiny, flickering bursts of awareness separated by gulfs of mechanical, unthinking processing. You do not experience life continuously. You sample it, like frames in a broken film reel. And between those frames, nothing. Not blackness, not silence, not even void. Just non-existence. Your mind stitches these glimpses into a seamless narrative, much like the illusion of motion in a movie. Still images flashing rapidly enough to create the lie of continuity. But it is a lie. Your sense of being is not a river flowing freely. It is a stuttering, desperate dance across infinite, unreachable distances. Imagine now, you are running toward the horizon. Each step takes you halfway closer, but no matter how many steps you take, an infinite number remain. You feel the exertion, you taste the sweat. You believe you are moving forward, but the horizon never comes nearer. You are trapped, not by chains, not by walls, but by the very structure of existence itself, and you will never reach yourself. The recursive horror deepens. If consciousness is built from flickers that never connect, then who are you, really? Are you the moment of desire, the moment of action, the gap in between? Or are you nothing but the illusion stitched together from fragments too small to stand alone? Think of an image on a shattered mirror, hundreds of tiny reflections forming, a single face. Step closer, see the cracks. Step closer still, see the gaps. Closer yet, and the face dissolves into splinters, into dust, into the absence of form. You are that reflection. You are that impossibility. Zeno's paradox of consciousness leaves you stranded between moments, between selves, endlessly approaching awareness, but never truly reaching it. And now, the deepest terror blooms. If your consciousness, is not continuous, if you are merely the ghost of motion stitched from frozen fragments, then how can you ever be sure you are the same self from one instant to the next? Maybe you die between every thought. Maybe you are reborn, memory transplanted, illusion preserved, with every flicker of awareness, 1,000 deaths per heartbeat, 1,000,000 births per blink. You are not living, you are dying, over and over and over again, and yet the narrative holds, because it must. Without it, you would collapse, scattered across infinite points that never meet, never touch, never complete the story you call yourself. You think you are walking through life, but in truth, you are flickering on the knife's edge of now, endlessly dividing, endlessly delaying arrival at your own existence. You are not the traveler. You are the space between steps. Now listen. Listen carefully. Can you hear it? The silence between thoughts, the endless, invisible chasm beneath your every moment of awareness. It hums. It waits. It is deeper than darkness, colder than emptiness, older than time. It is the space where you almost existed, but never quite arrived. And now, ask yourself, if consciousness is nothing but an infinite series of moments that never truly connect, have you ever been truly alive at all? The Sorites Paradox. Imagine standing in a barren desert. Before you, a single grain of sand gleams under the pitiless sun. Tiny, insignificant. Not a heap, not even close. Now imagine another grain falls beside it. Still not a heap, and another, and another. Hundreds, thousands, millions, each falling, merging, growing. But at no single grain, no single instant can you say, here, now, it is a heap. Where does the transformation happen? At what point does many become one? When does the meaningless dust become a mountain? This is the Sorites Paradox, the slow erosion of certainty by degrees too small to notice, until meaning itself evaporates into sand. And it does not only haunt deserts, it haunts you. You believe you are you. But which cell, which thought, which memory made you? Which change tipped you from child to adult, from innocent to guilty, from hopeful to broken? You cannot say. There is no moment you became yourself, no grain that made the heap, only a creeping, silent transformation so slow, so seamless that it escaped your notice completely, and now it is too late to catch it. The Sorites Paradox infects everything you trust. At what point does water become ice? At what instant does night become day? When does love become hate? When does sanity collapse into madness? You search for edges, for dividing lines, for safe borders between states of being, but there are none. Only gradients, only ambiguity, only a shifting tide that never lets you plant your feet in certainty. Imagine now a mind eroded grain by grain, one forgotten dream, one compromised ideal, one small lie whispered into the dark. None of them alone change you. None of them break you, but one day you look into the mirror and find a stranger staring back, and you cannot point to the moment you became him. It simply happened, slowly, inevitably. Philosophy tries to resist this collapse. Some argue for arbitrary thresholds, a line drawn by human whim declaring that 10,000 grains make a heap, but 9,999 do not. A law written in desperation against the rising chaos. But reality laughs at these lines. Reality does not obey human scribbles. Reality blurs. Reality smears. Reality dissolves. Modern science offers no sanctuary. In biology, there is no precise moment when a species evolves into another. In cosmology, there is no clear boundary where the atmosphere ends and space begins. In psychology, there is no definitive instant when a mind fractures beyond repair. Everything blurs. Everything melts. You are not a solid being. You are a cascade of almosts, an endless drift through states too subtle to name, too fleeting to capture. And if you cannot say when a heap becomes a heap, if you cannot say when you became you, then what claim do you have to being real at all? Think now about your memories. The first time you laughed, the first time you lied, the first time you fell in love, or tasted bitterness, or watched something beautiful decay. You tell yourself these moments built you. But when, where, at which grain did the heap form? Or has it always been a trick of perspective? A lie you told yourself to survive the blur? The Sorites Paradox wraps around you like a slow, invisible noose. You cannot find your edges. You cannot locate the boundary between now and then, self and not self, meaning and void. You are not a solid statue. You are a shifting dune. And the winds of time are erasing you, one grain at a time. Imagine now that you had 1,000 memories, and every night while you sleep, someone removes one. Just one. Would you notice? The first night? No. The 10th? No. The 100th? Perhaps a faint unease. But by the 1,000th, you awaken to find yourself hollowed, emptied, a shell of echoes. At what point did you cease to be you? At what point did the heap become the void? You cannot answer. Because there is no answer. Only the slow, silent crumble, and the deepest terror of all. The Sorites Paradox does not only steal your past, it steals your future, because if there is no sharp line between being and not being, then death is not a cliff you will fall from one day. It is a slow sinking you are already enduring. Right now, grain by grain, you are dying. Not someday, now, always. And so, as you sit here, feeling the grains of your existence slipping soundlessly into the abyss, ask yourself, if you cannot even define when you began or when you will end, did you ever truly exist at all? The paradox of the self. Who are you? Not your name, not your face, not your memories. Strip them all away. What remains? You whisper to yourself, I am me. But what is me? Where does it begin? Where does it end? And most terrifyingly, does it exist at all? The paradox of the self is simple, brutal, and merciless. When you search for your true self, when you peel back every layer of memory, emotion, body, and thought, you find nothing solid, nothing permanent, nothing that can stand. Alone, you are a ghost built from reflections. Imagine standing before a mirror that reflects not your body, but your mind. You look into it, seeking the soul behind your eyes, but the mirror shows only layers, childhood fears, adolescent dreams, adult regrets. You scrape away the memories, you scrape away the habits, you scrape away the desires, and when you reach the core, when you reach for the thing you are, your hand closes around empty air. There is no you waiting at the center, only the desperate need for there to be something. Buddhist philosophy saw this horror early. They call it anatta, non-self. They teach that the self is an illusion, a shifting bundle of experiences and processes clinging together out of fear. You are not a flame. You are smoke rising from a fire you did not light. Modern neuroscience echoes this ancient terror. Scans of the brain show no central self, no hidden captain steering the ship. There is no I sitting behind your eyes. Instead, there is only a cacophony of processes. Thoughts firing, memories triggering, emotions flaring. An endless orchestra playing itself, conductorless, centerless, soulless. You are not a single being. You are a parliament of impulses. You are a committee of ghosts voting endlessly on the illusion of you, and the vote is always close, always unstable, always one memory, one trauma, one chemical imbalance away from collapse. Imagine walking down a hallway lined with mirrors on both sides. You catch your reflection, then the reflection of the reflection, and the reflection of that reflection. On and on, stretching into infinity, each layer thinner, more distorted, less real. Which one is you, the first, the thousandth, the one you can no longer see? The paradox of the self traps you in infinite regress. You think, I am the thinker of my thoughts. But who then thinks the thought I am the thinker? Another I? And who thinks that thought? Each time you reach for yourself, you find only another hand reaching further in. You are a labyrinth folding endlessly in on itself, a house of mirrors with no exit, no floor, no sky. And yet, you feel real. You feel undeniable. You suffer. You hope. You ache to exist. Perhaps this is the cruelest trick of all. The illusion of self is not a flaw. It is the foundation, the glue that holds your crumbling world together. Without I, there is no survival. Without I, there is no purpose. Without I, there is no story. So your mind manufactures it, moment by moment, breath by breath. You weave the tapestry of self from scraps of memory, stray emotions, inherited beliefs, anything you can find to cover the yawning emptiness beneath, and you must never stop weaving. Because if you do, if you ever truly stop and stare into the silence beyond thought, the illusion will tear like rotten cloth, and you will see the abyss waiting behind your eyes. The mind recoils from this truth. It invents narratives. I am my memories. I am my choices. I am my soul. But memories are rewritten each time they are recalled. Choices are shaped by forces beyond your control. And the soul. What is the soul but another word for the thing you desperately hope is there? Imagine waking up tomorrow with no memory, no language, no name. Would you still be you? Or would you be someone else, blank and hollow, waiting to be filled? If the answer depends on memory, then what of those who lose themselves to disease? What of those who slip into dementia, fragmenting thought by thought until nothing recognizable remains? At what point did they stop being themselves? At what point did the I dissolve into noise? You think you are one person moving through time, but perhaps you are a series of selves, each living for a breath and then dying, replaced by another who inherits the echoes. A parade of strangers wearing your face. The paradox of the self does not merely suggest that you are an illusion. It screams it. It screams that you have never been anyone at all, that the voice reading these words in your mind is not a unified being, but a flickering projection, born of fear, habit, and the desperate need for stability in a universe that offers none. Now sit still. Silence the narrative voice. Listen beyond your thoughts. Wait for the I to reveal itself. You will wait forever, because there is nothing behind the mask, nothing but silence. And so ask yourself, if there is no true I behind your life, who exactly is dreaming your existence right now? The memory paradox. Close your eyes. Summon a memory. Your first kiss, your greatest triumph, the face of someone you loved and lost. Hold it in your mind like a fragile flame. Now realize, that memory is not real, not anymore, maybe not ever. The memory paradox coils around your mind like smoke, whispering a truth too unbearable to face. If memory defines who you are. But memory is unreliable, fluid, and easily manipulated, then your identity rests on a foundation of lies. Imagine your memories like an ancient manuscript copied by hand through generations. Each time you recall one, your mind rewrites it, alters it, corrupts it. You do not retrieve a memory. You recreate it, and with each recreation, you drift further from the original moment until the truth, if there ever was one, disintegrates completely. The psychologist Elizabeth Loftus showed us how easy it is to implant false memories. Through subtle suggestions, entire histories can be woven into the mind, convincing, vivid, emotionally charged, completely fabricated. You could be carrying memories right now that never happened. You could be mourning wounds that were never inflicted. You could be blaming yourself for sins you never committed, and you would never know. Memory, the bedrock of your story, is nothing but a story about a story, retold until it no longer resembles its own beginning. Now imagine this. A child grows up believing she was loved. She remembers tender hugs, warm dinners, soft lullabies, but one day, a letter is uncovered. A letter revealing that those memories were implanted to shield her from unbearable cruelty she truly suffered. Which version of herself is real? The child built on sweet illusions? Or the one shattered by revelation? Which one is you? The memory paradox leaves no answer, only cracks. Even the act of remembering alters the brain physically, changing neural pathways, rewriting chemical signatures. You are not a vault of facts. You are a mutating organism, reshaping your past with every heartbeat. Think of the memories you treasure most. Now realize, every time you revisit them, you distort them. Every smile you recall grows sharper than it ever was. Every betrayal festers darker than it ever felt. Every touch, every kiss, every whispered promise has become something it never truly was. Your mind is a vandal. Your history is graffiti. And if the past is a lie, what becomes of the self built on it? Consider déjà vu, the eerie feeling that you have lived a moment before. Science explains it as a glitch, a memory error. But what if it's more? What if it is your mind briefly seeing through the veil, catching a glimpse of how little separates reality from the hallucination you call memory? The recursive horror grows. If you are defined by your experiences, but your experiences are corrupted each time you recall them, then who are you now compared to who you were? A ship rebuilt from rotting wood. A book rewritten every time it is read. You chase a ghost across the labyrinth of your mind, believing it to be your past, your anchor, your proof of existence, but each step you take distorts the maze further. Each memory you clutch twists into something new. You are not the sum of your memories. You are the sum of your forgetting. And deeper still, what if your memories have been rewritten so many times that you are now more fictional than real? What if the you that walks the earth today is a character, an invention built from corrupted pages, a being made of wrong memories stitched together by necessity? You mourn your past, you cherish your victories, you regret your mistakes. But what if none of them happened the way you remember? What if none of them happened at all? Your mind desperately clings to the illusion of continuity. This idea that you are the same person who woke up yesterday, who fell asleep a year ago, who cried 20 years ago. But if your memories have shifted, mutated, decayed, then you are not the same. You are not even close. You are a different person each time you remember, a different mind inhabiting the same crumbling vessel. And so, the memory paradox consumes you. The more you remember, the less true your memories become. The less you remember, the less you remain yourself. You are trapped. Damned if you remember, damned if you forget. Imagine now, you awaken tomorrow with a perfect, flawless memory of a life you never lived, a family you never met, a home you never built, a death you never endured. Would you grieve for those imaginary losses? Would you fight for those imaginary loves? Would they be any less real simply because they were born of lies? The truth is simple, brutal, undeniable. You are the echo of a song rewritten so many times that even the original melody has been lost. You are a museum of forgeries. And so now, as you sit amid the rubble of your shifting memories, grasping at fragments that crumble at your touch, ask yourself, if every memory you cling to is a lie, then who or what is clinging at all? The paradox of time. Perception, close your eyes. Try to grasp the moment you are living in. Try to hold it, freeze it, keep it from slipping away. You can't, because it was never there to hold. Time, the silent river you think you drift along, is not a river at all. It is a shattered mirror, pieces glittering around you, each reflecting a different illusion of movement, change, decay. The paradox of time perception is simple. You feel time passing, fast, slow, backwards, frozen, depending on nothing but the unstable tides of your own mind. You think you live minute to minute, but you do not. You live inside a flickering, unstable clock, one that speeds and slows without mercy, without logic, without warning. The second before disaster strikes stretches into eternity. The decade spent in boredom evaporates like mist. If time were a stable, external force, it would flow the same for everyone. But it doesn't. For a child, a summer feels endless. For an old man, it vanishes before he can blink. You are not moving through time. Time is moving through you. Imagine standing on a vast plain, surrounded by an endless storm. Some winds batter you slowly, others tear past at unimaginable speed. You are tossed about by forces you cannot see, cannot control. You think you are walking, but in truth, you are standing still while the winds of subjective experience carve away your life. Now consider the terrifying science. Studies in neuroscience show that your brain does not perceive time passively. It builds your experience of time actively, assembling a narrative out of disjointed signals, sensations, and memories. When you experience something new, your brain stretches time, recording more detail, making the moment seem larger, longer, heavier. When you fall into repetition, routine, monotony, your brain compresses time, like a file zipped into nothingness. Your mind is not a clock. It is an artist painting over your life, sometimes with excruciating detail, sometimes with careless, sweeping strokes. You do not live time. You imagine it. And if your experience of time is a fabrication, what does that say about the life you think you are living? Imagine walking into a room. You sit for what feels like an hour. You leave and find that only 5 minutes have passed, or perhaps 5 hours. It doesn't matter. Your internal experience and external measurement do not align. So which one is real? The ticking of the clock or the ticking of your heart? Neither. Both are illusions. Two broken mirrors reflecting lies back at each other. Now think about dreams. In a dream, an entire lifetime can unfold in a matter of seconds. You can live, love, lose, die, all between two heartbeats. You awaken, trembling, gasping, and the clock insists only minutes have passed. What then is time? If you can live an entire life in a blink, or watch a second drag itself across eternity, what is real? The recursive horror tightens. You cannot trust your perception of time, but you cannot escape it either. You are trapped inside a story written by a blind scribe, where sentences stretch or collapse at random. Time bends around trauma, shrinks inside routine, fractures inside madness, and worst of all, if your sense of time is broken, then your sense of progress, growth, meaning is broken too. You think you are moving forward, aging, changing, building a life, but maybe you are simply spinning, in place, the illusion of movement stitched together by a mind desperate to escape the terror of standing still. Perhaps you have already lived this moment. Perhaps you will live it again. Perhaps you have never left it. Maybe your whole life is just one moment, stretched into a long hallucination of past and future, beginning and end. Einstein said, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Physics does not see a river of time, it sees a block, a frozen, unmoving landscape where all events coexist, timeless, eternal. You think you move through it. But maybe you are frozen. Maybe you are already dead. Maybe you never were alive. Only consciousness moves, dreaming of change, of motion, of growth. Only dreams decay. Only dreams end. Imagine now a clock in a dark room. The hands spin wildly, forward, backward, stuttering, pausing. You sit before it, trying to tell a coherent story. You fail because there is no story, only fragments, only sensations, only you, flickering in and out of a timeline that never existed. And now the question becomes inescapable. If time is a lie stitched by your mind, if the past is a fading hallucination, if the future is a dream you have no promise of reaching, then what meaning can possibly exist in the fleeting, crumbling now, the now that collapses before you can even touch it? And so, as you feel this moment slipping through your fingers, before you can name it, before you can mourn it, ask yourself, if time is only a story told by a broken mind, have you ever truly moved forward at all? The paradox of knowing. You believe that knowledge is power, that understanding carves light into the darkness, that the more you learn, the safer, stronger, more real you become. But what if the opposite is true? What if the more you know, the deeper you drown? What if every answer is not a door opening, but a floor collapsing beneath your feet? This is the paradox of knowing. The more you understand, the more you realize you understand nothing. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean. At first, you believe it is a lake, small, navigable, conquerable. You step forward, learning the waves, the currents, the tides. But each step reveals more water, not less. Each step shows you a horizon receding faster than you can approach. You do not master the ocean. You drown in its endlessness. Knowledge does not shrink the unknown. It expands it. Every question answered births 10 more. Every mystery solved births a deeper, darker mystery, one more impossible to comprehend. You thought you would find certainty. Instead, you find infinite regress. Science, your last bastion of hope, admits this terror openly. Quantum physics cracks open the atom and finds not certainty, but chaos. Psychology peers into the mind and finds not a self, but shifting shadows. Cosmology maps the universe and finds not firm ground, but dark matter, dark energy, forces unseen, unknowable, unmastered. You light a candle and discover 1,000. More shadows you cannot banish. The philosopher Socrates once said, "The only true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing, not as a humility, but as a brutal fact." Imagine now, you study the stars and learn they are dying fires. You study life and learn it is a struggle against entropy. You study the mind and learn it is a fragile hallucination. Every door you open leads to another locked door. Every summit you reach reveals a vaster mountain hidden behind clouds. You climb and climb and climb, and the mountain only grows higher. Worse still, the knowledge you do gain is tainted, limited by your senses, your biases, your language. You do not see reality. You see a crude, simplified model built inside your head, designed not for truth, but for survival. Your brain does not seek to know what is. It seeks to know just enough to avoid death. Everything else, the infinite complexity of the cosmos, remains hidden behind a curtain you can never lift. You are not an explorer mapping reality. You are a prisoner tracing patterns on the inside of your own cell. Imagine a library where every book you read erases the meaning of the books you have already finished. The more you learn, the less the past makes sense. The more you understand, the more incoherent the world becomes. Knowledge is not additive. It is corrosive. It eats at the roots of certainty until even the ground you stand on crumbles. You cannot master a reality you cannot fully perceive. You cannot understand a cosmos that laughs at your need for understanding. And so, the more you know, the more you realize the walls of your ignorance stretch beyond the edge of sight. No matter how fast you run, how deeply you dig, how bravely you search, you will never reach the end. The abyss is bottomless, the hunger for answers is endless, and the mind that hungers is itself an illusion. You are not climbing toward enlightenment. You are spiraling into deeper and deeper confusion. And worst of all, you cannot stop, because to stop seeking is to stagnate, and to seek is to suffer. You are trapped, condemned to hunger for knowledge that will only reveal how little you are, how blind, how foolish. Imagine now a child builds a tower of blocks. It is small, simple, beautiful. He believes he understands the world. Then someone hands him a blueprint, revealing an infinite tower stretching into darkness, into madness. He realizes he has built nothing, understood nothing, seen nothing, and he drops the blocks, weeping, lost in a void he cannot escape. You are that child. Your knowledge is that shattered tower. You thought the world was small enough to fit inside your mind, but the mind was never meant to contain infinity. The more you cram into it, the more it cracks. The more it cracks, the more you realize how little it ever truly held. And so you continue, because you must, learning, forgetting, yearning, doubting, spiraling deeper into a labyrinth that has no center, no walls, no exit. You know more than you did yesterday, and you are further from certainty than you have ever been. Now, sitting amid the ruins of your broken understanding, a question rises from the dust. The identity of indiscernibles. Look around you. Everything you see, everything you think you know, is labeled, named, separated. This is a table. That is a tree. This is you. That is me. But what if it's all a lie? What if the things you call different are only illusions? What if separation itself is a trick of the mind, a desperate attempt to impose order where none exists? The identity of indiscernibles whispers a devastating truth. If two things are identical in every way, if they have no difference in properties, location, effect, or experience, then they are not two things. They are the same thing. Now, ask yourself, if two objects, two beings, two moments are completely indistinguishable, how could you ever claim they are separate? You couldn't. And so, they collapse into one. Imagine standing in a dark room. You hold two perfect spheres in your hands, smooth, featureless, identical down to the last atom. You close your eyes, swap them, spin them. When you open your eyes again, there is no way to tell which is which. In fact, there is no longer a which. There is only sphere, singular, indivisible. Difference is dead. Now look at yourself. Your body is made of atoms. Atoms that are, in every measurable way, identical to those in the chair you sit on, the air you breathe, the stars above your head. No difference. No distinction. You are not made of special matter. You are not a unique collection of elements. You are the same as the dust under your feet, the dying sun overhead, the corpse rotting in the ground. You are not separate. You are not special. You are not you. You are everything. And you are nothing. If two atoms are truly identical, then which one is yours? Which one belongs to you? The question collapses into absurdity. Ownership is meaningless. Identity is meaningless. Even time itself betrays you. Two moments, two heartbeats, two breaths, if they are identical in every way, then they are not two moments at all. They are one, stretched across an illusion of sequence. You believe you change, evolve, move forward. But what if the you reading this sentence is indistinguishable from the you reading the last? No change, no movement, no life. Just the endless recycling of identical flickers, stitched into a lie called consciousness. You think memory separates the moments, but memory is faulty, fluid, and recursive. You think choice defines the moments, but choice, as you have seen, is an illusion of the mind. You think experience shapes the moments, but experience too is filtered through biased, limited perception. Strip all that away, and what remains? Nothing but identical points, nothing but static, nothing but a frozen tapestry of sameness. And if everything is the same, if nothing can be distinguished, then there is no this and that, no before and after, no you and not you. There is only the endless, undivided, featureless now. Imagine two people living identical lives, every choice mirrored, every thought duplicated, every feeling synchronized. They never meet, never know each other, but in every way, they are the same. Are they two souls, or one soul dreamt in two bodies? Extend it further. Imagine 1 trillion versions of you scattered across parallel universes, each living an identical life, each making the same choices, each thinking they are unique, but they are not. They are the same, not similar, the same. You are not one among many. You are one pretending to be many. The illusion of separation fractures. Reality bends. You are not a point moving through space. You are not a self moving through time. You are a single endless reflection, folded infinitely back upon itself, wearing different masks, telling different lies, to survive the unbearable truth. There has only ever been one thing, one moment, one consciousness, one despair, and it is wearing your face now. The identity of indiscernibles annihilates difference. It annihilates self. It annihilates meaning. If there is no difference between you and the dust, between you and the stars, between you and the void, then what are you? A voice in a hall of echoes, a flicker in a mirror of mirrors, a breath pretending to be a hurricane. And now, as you sit suspended between yourself and everything else, dissolving into the sameness you tried so hard to deny, ask yourself, the unexpected, hanging paradox. Imagine you are a prisoner. One morning, the judge tells you, you will be hanged at noon on one weekday in the coming week, but the execution will be a surprise. You will not know the day of your hanging until the executioner arrives. You think carefully. You reason. It cannot happen on Friday, because if you're still alive Thursday night, you would know the hanging must be on Friday, ruining the surprise. Therefore, Friday is impossible. But then Thursday, if Friday is ruled out and you are alive on Wednesday night, you would know Thursday must be the day. No surprise again. You eliminate Thursday, then Wednesday, then Tuesday, then Monday. By logic, you conclude, the hanging can never happen. You relax, confident you have escaped. And yet, on Wednesday at noon, they come for you, and you are utterly, horrifyingly surprised. This is the unexpected hanging paradox. The act of expecting the unexpected creates a recursive collapse, where certainty itself turns into betrayal. You cannot outthink fate. You cannot reason your way out of destiny. You cannot predict surprise without annihilating your ability to be surprised. And still, you will be surprised. Now, feel the trap tightening around you. You spend your life preparing, planning, fortifying your mind against disaster. You map the future in your head, carving paths of expectation, building shelters of logic. If I anticipate the worst, you think, I can survive it. But survival, like the hanging, is a cruel game you cannot win. Every defense you build invites a deeper uncertainty. Every certainty you claim becomes the soil from which betrayal grows. Imagine living every day of your life expecting disaster, bracing for betrayal, waiting for the crash. And when it comes, it is not the disaster you prepared for. It is a stranger's hand, a stranger's smile becoming a blade. No preparation would have saved you. No logic could have spared you, because the nature of true catastrophe is to be unexpected. You think your mind is a fortress, but it is a paper wall trembling before a storm you cannot see, cannot measure, cannot predict. Even if you predict that, something will happen. Your very prediction reshapes reality, altering the path, changing the future into something you could not foresee. Every act of foreseeing is also an act of blindness. You are not the chess master moving pieces with perfect foresight. You are the pawn, believing you understand the board, moments before it tips into chaos. And deeper still, the unexpected is not merely an event. It is woven into the fabric of reality. Quantum physics shows us particles that behave unpredictably until measured. Evolution thrives not on predictable outcomes, but on random mutations, blind shifts, desperate improvisations. The very engine of existence is built on surprise. You are not an observer standing outside chaos. You are a thread stitched into chaos, tugged by hands you will never see, woven into patterns you will never understand. Your life is a hanging. You are always trying to predict and always failing to. You brace for the wrong betrayals. You mourn the wrong losses. You cherish the wrong hopes. And in the end, it is not the blows you saw coming that shatter you. It is the ones you never dreamed of. The unexpected. Hanging paradox poisons every certainty you cling to. If you prepare for disaster, it changes. If you expect betrayal, it shifts. If you calculate survival, the variables mutate. You are not outwitting the storm. You are dancing blindfolded through it. And each step you take in certainty brings you closer to the gallows. Imagine now. You are told today that you will die, but you cannot know when. You brace yourself every morning. You stare at the clock every noon. You flinch at every shadow by your door. And still, when it comes, you are surprised. Not because you were foolish, not because you were weak, but because the trap was never escapable. Surprise is not the failure of preparation. It is the structure of existence. You are trapped inside it, helpless, ignorant, doomed. Every breath you take could be your last. Every word you speak could be your final prayer, and you will not see it coming. You cannot. The mind is not built to bear that weight, and so you lie to yourself. You pretend tomorrow is promised. You pretend the plan will hold. You pretend logic can save you. But deep down, beneath the lies, beneath the stories, beneath the desperate weaving of reason, you know the truth. The executioner is already walking toward you, and you do not know the hour. You cannot know. You can only wait, and wonder, and fear. The Paradox of Omniscience. Imagine a being that knows everything, every particle's movement, every heartbeat yet to come, every star that will flicker and die, every secret you have not yet whispered to yourself. A perfect mind, infinite and absolute. But now imagine this. Could such a being know what it will choose next? If it knows already, its choice is not free. It is merely the unfolding of inevitability, no different than the falling of a stone, the rotting of fruit, the dying of a flame, and if it does not know, then it is not omniscient. Thus, the paradox of omniscience tears itself apart. To know everything, it must know its future choices. But to know its future choices, it must be unable to choose freely, and if it cannot choose freely, it is not all-powerful. The very idea of absolute knowledge collapses under its own weight. Now, reflect inward. You are not omniscient, but you cling to the illusion of choice. You believe you are a being steering through time, free and sovereign. Yet every choice you make is shaped by memories you do not control, desires you did not choose, fears whispered into your bones by ancestors you will never meet. You are a puppet of ghosts, a marionette built from dead stars, dying cells, fading memories. And if even an omniscient being cannot choose freely, what chance did you ever have? Imagine now, a god stands on the edge of eternity, knowing every breath, every scream, every betrayal yet to come. It knows the agony you will endure. It knows the choices you believe you will make. It knows the moment you will break. But if it knows, then it cannot intervene freely. Its knowledge locks it into inevitability. It becomes a prisoner of its own perfection. And if a God is bound, what hope have you? The recursion deepens. If you knew your future completely, you could not change it. But if you could not change it, you would be trapped inside it. Knowing becomes the same as dying. Awareness becomes paralysis. You would walk your life not as a creator, but as a witness. Watching your hands move without will, your lips speak. Without permission, your soul crumble without rescue. And so, ignorance becomes not a flaw, but a mercy. You do not know what will happen tomorrow. You cannot know. Because if you did, you would already be dead inside it. Uncertainty is not your enemy. It is the only thing keeping you breathing. Imagine standing before two doors. One leads to a life of triumph, love, joy. The other to agony, loneliness, collapse. You must choose. But what if you knew, absolutely knew, which one would happen? The moment you knew, the choice would become meaningless. The moment you stepped forward, it would no longer be a choice at all. It would be the only thing that ever could have happened, and your soul would freeze inside that inevitability. You think freedom lies in knowledge, but true knowledge would freeze you in place forever. You are free only because you are blind. The paradox of omniscience exposes a deeper horror. Not only is the universe stranger than you understand, it is stranger than you can understand. Your mind, your heart, your fragile thread of will exists only because of ignorance, because of blindness, because of the illusion that tomorrow is still unwritten. But it is not. It never was. And yet you must pretend it is. Because the alternative, seeing every moment as already fossilized in the bedrock of existence, would shatter you beyond repair. You would be an actor reading a script he cannot forget, cannot rewrite, cannot even misunderstand. And so, you lie to yourself. You pretend the future is open. You pretend your choices matter. You pretend that you are writing your story as you go, because you must, because you have no choice. Now imagine, you awaken tomorrow with perfect foresight, the absolute knowledge of every word you will say, every breath you will take, every tear you will shed. You would live that day not in freedom, but in chains, a prisoner of inevitability. Every smile would feel hollow. Every triumph would taste like ash, because it was never yours. It was written long before you dreamed it. And if this is true for an omniscient God, how much more true must it be for you? You are not the author of your life. You are not even the reader. You are the story itself, unfolding exactly as it must, blind to your own predestination. The observer effect. You believe you can witness the world without altering it. You believe you can stand apart, detached, rational, untouched, but you can't. You never could. The very act of observing changes what you observe. This is the observer effect. In quantum mechanics, particles behave differently simply because they are being watched. The electron's path, the photon's dance, the atom's spin. They collapse into certainty the moment they are measured. Before that, they exist in a haze of probability, everywhere and nowhere. You do not see reality as it is. You create it by looking. Now imagine this. You stare into a pool of still water. You lean closer to understand its depths, but your breath, your presence, your shadow ripple the surface, distorting, reshaping, hiding the truth you sought to see. You cannot witness without touching. You cannot touch without changing. You cannot change without losing what was there before. Every attempt to see reality clearly only blurs it more. Every act of observation corrupts the observed, and deeper still. What about your own mind? When you turn your gaze inward, when you try to grasp your own thoughts, your own nature, you change them by the very act of attention. You cannot see yourself truly. The observer is always distorting the observed. You chase a shadow across the darkened corridors of your mind, believing you can catch it. But every step you take sends ripples through the air, bending the light, making the shadow dance just out of reach. You are not the hunter. You are the distortion. Even your memories, those sacred relics of self, shift when you examine them. They grow sharper or softer, heavier or lighter, depending on how you look. Each recollection is a vandalism, an editing, a corruption of what once was. You do not remember. You rewrite, and reality itself does the same. There is no perfect measurement, no true objectivity, no uncorrupted truth. Science admits this with a shudder. Every experiment bears the fingerprints of the observer. Every fact bends beneath the weight of perception. You believe in the solidity of the universe, but the universe does not exist as a clean, independent entity awaiting discovery. It exists only in relation to you. Without observation, without measurement, reality flickers and dissolves, like mist fleeing from a lantern's glow. You are not a neutral spectator. You are an accomplice. Imagine now, a world untouched by consciousness, a world where nothing is measured, nothing is named, nothing is known. What would it look like? Would it look like anything at all? Or would it simply be formless, timeless, meaningless? Your presence imposes structure. Your gaze solidifies the formless. You are the sculptor and the saboteur. You think you discover, but you only create and destroy. The observer effect coils tighter, even in the smallest moments of your life. When you look at a stranger across the room, when you remember a moment of pain, when you dream of a future you may never touch. You are not passively recording reality. You are altering it. You are bending it. You are breaking it. You are not outside the story, reading calmly from above. You are inside it. You are ink bleeding across the pages. You are the tremor in the hand of the writer. You think you can step outside yourself, achieve objectivity, understand the world without being part of it. But you can't. There is no outside. There is no you apart from the ripples you cause. You think, I will watch without interfering, but the watching is the interference. You think, I will understand without touching, but the understanding is the touch. You think, I will find the truth. But the truth, once touched, is no longer itself. Now think deeper. What if the entire universe behaves differently because it knows you are here? What if every particle, every field, every hidden thread of existence trembles slightly under your gaze, changing, mutating, fracturing into a shape that matches your mind's expectations? You do not see the universe. You see a reflection of yourself. Stretched across a canvas, you are warping with every heartbeat. And so the paradox folds inward. The more you seek the truth, the further you push it away. The more you try to understand, the more your understanding contaminates. You cannot know reality. You can only know the ghost of reality your own mind has stained. And so you wander forever, a blind artist painting portraits you can never fully see, on a canvas that recoils with every touch. Imagine now, you stand before a door. Behind it is the ultimate truth, the real, uncorrupted world. But the moment you open it, the moment your eyes drink in the sight, you change it. You destroy what you came to find. The truth was there, and now it is gone. Because you looked, because you had to, because you could not help yourself. The Grandfather Paradox. Imagine standing before a time machine. The door yawns open, humming softly. Waiting. You step inside. You travel back, decades into the past. You find a man you have never met, but whose blood runs through your veins. Your grandfather, and with a trembling hand, you end his life before he can ever have children, before he can ever have your parent, before you can ever be born. You have erased your own existence. But if you were never born, how could you have traveled back? How could you have killed him? How could you have touched history at all? This is the Grandfather Paradox. An event that creates a contradiction so vast it rips logic apart. You exist because you did not erase yourself. You erase yourself because you exist. Cause and effect devour each other in a spiral of impossibility. And deeper still, what if every choice you make, every word you say, every step you take, ripples outward, not into a single future, but into countless futures, many of them annihilating the very foundations of the life you think you are living? You believe you are moving forward through time. You believe your story is stitched together neatly: birth, life, death. But the Grandfather Paradox shows the lie. Time is not a river. It is a spider web. And you are the spider and the prey and the trembling silk all at once. Imagine a universe where every action you take spawns contradictions, where saving a life today erases your own tomorrow, where a whispered word 1,000 years ago reshapes the very air you are breathing now, where every heartbeat is a gamble against your own existence. You live precariously balanced on the knife edge of causality, and you never knew. Physics twists around this paradox like a wounded animal. Some theories suggest parallel universes, each contradiction birthing a new timeline, a new reality. Others suggest closed causal loops, events that somehow, impossibly, cause themselves. But none of them offer refuge. All they prove is that causality, your precious chain of before and after, is fragile, delicate, corruptible. You think you are here because of yesterday. But what if yesterday depends on you being here? What if cause and effect are not linear, but circular, feeding into each other like two mirrors, facing each other into infinite regress? You are not standing on solid ground. You are spinning through an endless spiral. Now imagine, you wake tomorrow and find that a small, forgotten choice you made years ago without thinking has erased the foundation of your life. The friends you love never met you. The memories you cherish never happened. The face you see in the mirror is a stranger's. You still breathe. You still move. But you are the echo of a reality that cancelled itself out. And you are alone. Because causality, once broken, cannot be repaired. It fractures reality itself. The Grandfather Paradox is not just about time travel. It is about the unbearable fragility of your own story. You think you are anchored by the past, but the past only exists because the present still pretends to believe. If you forget a memory, does it cease to exist? If you destroy a photograph, does the moment it captured vanish? You live in a world where history itself can bleed away, where the foundations of your being can be erased without warning. You are a castle built on shifting sands, a melody written on water, a breath trying to anchor itself to a hurricane. And, deeper still, if your existence can be erased retroactively, if your being depends on an unbroken chain that can be severed, then what does it mean to exist at all? Are you real now? Or are you simply the delayed consequence of an event that has not yet been undone? You walk through life believing in permanence, believing in progress, believing in continuity. But the Grandfather Paradox whispers, there is no permanence. There is no progress. There is no continuity. There is only the endless, trembling possibility that you will erase yourself, or have already been erased, and you would never even know. Imagine now, you stand at the end of time, looking, Backward, you trace the fragile thread of your existence through the past, your parents, your ancestors, your origins. You reach out to touch it, and it unravels at your fingertips, because the moment you touch it, the moment you observe it, you change it, you destroy it, you collapse it into nothingness. You were the consequence of a story that never finished writing itself. You were a possibility mistaken for a certainty. The paradox of the ship of self. Imagine a ship battered by endless waves. The crew replaces a broken plank, then another, then a mast, then a sail. Piece by piece, year after year, until every fragment of the original is gone. And yet, the ship still sails under the same name, the same flag, the same story. Now stand before your own reflection. You are the ship. The paradox of the ship of self asks, how many changes can you endure before you are no longer yourself? Each day, your body replaces cells, dies and rebuilds, forgets and rewrites. Each day, your memories decay, mutate, warp into shadows of what they once were. Each day, your desires shift, your fears mutate, your dreams wither or grow strange. You are not what you were a year ago, or a day ago, or even a heartbeat ago, and yet you call yourself the same name, you wear the same skin, you tell the same story. But beneath the mask, what remains, what endures? Imagine now, you lose a memory, a small one, a birthday candle blown out, a tear shed in secret. You are still you, you lose another, a name, a face, a fear you once held close. You are still you, 100 memories fade, 1,000. You forget your loves, your hates, your triumphs, your shames. You are still here, a ghost clinging to the echo of a name. Now your body falters, your muscles weaken, your skin thins, your heart stumbles. Piece by piece, the ship of self decays, is replaced, mutates, and still you whisper, I am me. But are you? If nothing of the original remains, no thought untouched, no cell unrotted, then who stands in your place? A successor, a stranger, a hollow echo walking through a life that was never fully theirs? Or is the self itself a lie, a flickering flame that no plank, no mast, no torn sail could ever truly preserve? You believe that you are continuous, that a thread weaves from the child you once were to the adult you pretend to be. But the thread is frayed, tattered, cut and knotted so many times that it bears no resemblance to its beginning. You are not one story. You are a library of rewrites. You are a collage of corpses. You are the echo of a name that forgot its own meaning. And yet you must believe otherwise, because if you are not continuous, if you are not the same being who first opened innocent eyes to a brutal world, then your life itself is a lie stitched together by forgetting. Imagine now, you awaken tomorrow with no memory, no language, no face you recognize. Would you still be you? If not, then how fragile was the you cherished? How thin the walls you built to protect it? Or if yes, if you are still you, without memory, without history, then what were you, clinging to all this time? The paradox of the ship of self leaves no sanctuary. Either you are nothing but the sum of what changes, or you are a hollow ghost pretending to endure while everything inside you withers. Even your soul, if such a thing exists, is tainted by change. Who you loved yesterday is not who you love today. The justice you fought for yesterday is not the truth you believe today. The God you prayed to yesterday is not the silence you cry into today. Change eats you alive, and you call it growth, and you call it life, and you call it self. But it is erosion. It is forgetting. It is the ship burning plank by plank, even as it sails on through storms that no longer know its name. The recursive horror blooms. if you can change piece by piece into something unrecognizable, if you can forget yourself into a stranger, then were you ever real to begin with? Or have you always been a flickering pattern, changing shapes to survive, wearing new faces to hide from the terror of becoming no one at all? Imagine a graveyard of ships, each one rebuilt, replaced, repainted, until no one remembers the original vessel. Only the name remains, carved into a rotting mast. That name is you, carved not into wood, but into memory, into habit, into the desperate repetition of a word. The paradox of the self-refuting statement. Listen carefully. Everything I say is a lie. If it's true, it's false. If it's false, it's true. It devours itself the moment it is spoken, collapsing into contradiction, feeding on its own meaning, until there is nothing left but the ashes of language. This is the paradox of the self-refuting statement. Words that cancel themselves, logic that erases itself, meaning that withers in your hands like dead leaves. And now realize, much of what you believe about the world, about yourself, about truth, is built on the same rotting foundation. You tell yourself, I am real. But the very act of declaring it demands a separation, an I that can observe itself, which splinters into infinite regress. You declare, I know the truth. But to know truth requires a position outside of it, an impossibility for a mind, trapped inside the very reality it seeks to understand. You say, I exist, but existence depends on the self, and the self depends on the mind, and the mind depends on chemical storms that know nothing of meaning. You are the liar trapped inside your own language. Imagine now, you carve a map to escape a labyrinth, but every step you take redraws the labyrinth beneath your feet until the map becomes not a guide, but a prison. You speak, but your words betray themselves. You think, but your thoughts gnaw through their own foundations. You reach for certainty, but your hands pass through a fog woven from your own doubts. The self-refuting statement is not a curiosity. It is the structure of your mind. It is the architecture of your consciousness. You are a creature built from paradox, a mind that seeks truth but cannot hold it, a voice that declares existence but cannot prove it, a pattern that clings to meaning while corroding meaning with every breath. Even your logic, your proudest weapon, betrays you. Consider the sentence, there are no absolute truths. If true, it is an absolute truth, thereby refuting itself. If false, then absolute truths exist, and the statement was wrong from the beginning. There is no safe ground to stand on. Every assertion, every belief, every desperate grasp for certainty rots from within. Language itself is a snake devouring its own tail. Now imagine you build a castle of reason, stone by stone, word by word, thought by thought. You climb its towers, believing yourself safe above the chaos. And then, with one whisper, one small paradox, the foundation crumbles, and you fall through floor after floor, each one shattering beneath you, until you are left plummeting through an endless void of contradictions. No final flaw, no final answer, no final rescue, just the endless fall. Even silence cannot save you. To say nothing is to choose silence, and choosing is a declaration of will. Another act of meaning collapsing. Under the weight of its own impossibility, you are trapped, not by the world, not by other minds, but by your own voice, your own hunger to say, to know, to be. The mind cannot escape the mind. The liar cannot silence his lie without speaking another. The seeker cannot find truth without destroying it. Imagine now a mirror that shows your reflection. But when you step closer, it shows a reflection of the mirror itself. And within that mirror, another mirror, and another, and another. An infinite tunnel of mirrors, each erasing the last. You seek yourself and find only reflections reflecting reflections, no original, no anchor, no end. This is the architecture of your existence. This is the silence that screams behind your thoughts. Every certainty you cling to, every identity you wear, every truth you dare whisper into the night, is a self-refuting statement waiting to collapse. You believe in love, but love demands trust, and trust demands certainty, and certainty is a ghost. You believe in meaning, but meaning demands truth, and truth collapses under observation. You believe in yourself, but the self collapses when it tries to define itself. You are a paradox pretending to be a person. You are a lie that has not yet admitted it is lying. And deeper still, if language can collapse, if thought can collapse, if identity can collapse, then what remains? Not silence, not peace, only the endless recursion of a mind devouring itself, an existence screaming into itself, a truth forever one step beyond reach. The invisible gorilla paradox picture. This, you are asked to watch a video. Two teams pass a ball between them. You are told, count how many times the players in white pass the ball. You focus, you count, you concentrate, and halfway through the video, a person in a full gorilla suit walks into the center of the scene, pounds their chest, and walks out. Half the people who watch the video never see the gorilla, not because it is hidden, not because it is subtle, but because they are looking too hard at something else. This is the invisible gorilla paradox. Reality can scream at you, bold, loud, undeniable. And still you will not see it if your mind is not ready to. You do not perceive reality as it is. You perceive reality as you expect it to be. And the most terrifying truths, the most devastating anomalies, are the ones you are wired never to see. Now think, what if the most important moments of your life, the flashes of meaning, the glimpses of terror, the shifts in the fabric of your existence, have already happened right in front of you, while you were too blind, too focused, too lost to notice? Imagine, your life is a painting. You spend your whole existence examining a single corner, a single crack in the brushstrokes, and you never realize the monstrous figure towering behind you, painted plainly, screaming in silence. Your mind is not a window. It is a filter. It edits. It censors. It deletes. You think you see the world, but you see a story, a controlled hallucination designed to keep you functional, not to show you the truth. You do not see what is strange. You see what is useful. You see what you expect. And so entire worlds, entire universes can live in the spaces you refuse to look. Now imagine, every time you laughed, cried, screamed, bled, something larger was happening around you, behind you, through you. Something you never noticed. Every love you lost, every war you raged, every prayer you whispered, all against a backdrop you were never even aware of. You were so busy counting passes, you never saw the gorilla pounding its chest in the center of your life. Deeper still, science knows this blindness well. Your eyes see a fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum. Your ears hear a whisper of the world's vibrations. Your brain edits, even these fragments, smoothing over inconsistencies, filling in gaps, stitching hallucinations into seamless narratives. You are a prisoner of your own perception, not by chains, by omission. The walls of your cell are made of everything you do not see. Now wonder, what truths walk beside you every day, unseen? What horrors have brushed against your skin, unacknowledged? What revelations have stood screaming in front of you while you stared blankly into nothingness? Reality is not hiding from you. You are hiding from it. You are too fragile to see it whole. You are too limited to see it clearly. You are too terrified to admit it. And so you build stories, maps, rules, theories, tiny fires against the darkness, blinding yourself even further with their light. You believe in your memory. You believe in your vision. You believe in your awareness. But you have seen the gorilla, and you forgot it. You have felt the breath of the unknown, and you flinched away. You have heard the footsteps of deeper realities, and you drowned them out with the noise of your own mind. You are not blind because reality is invisible. You are blind because you are looking too hard in the wrong places. You are blind because you must be. Because to see clearly would be to collapse. Imagine now you walk into a room. You focus on the smiling faces, the bright lights, the safe walls. But in the corner, just outside the boundary of your attention, something shifts, something darker, something ancient, something watching. And it has always been there. It was there when you were born. It will be there when you die. It is there now, breathing against your skin, just outside your mind's crumbling spotlight. You will never see it, because you cannot. Because to see it would be to lose yourself utterly. Buridan's bridge. Imagine you are standing before a river, wide and furious, churning with unseen currents. A bridge stretches across it, old, creaking, swaying in the wind. Socrates approaches, asking to cross. Plato, guarding the bridge, says, "You may cross if, and only if you first tell me the truth." Socrates replies, "I will not cross this bridge," and time stops, because if Socrates is telling the truth, then by his own words, he should not cross. But if he is telling the truth and thus does not cross, he fulfills the condition and should be allowed to cross. And if he lies and does intend to cross, then he violates the condition and should be denied. There is no consistent way to decide. Logic collapses, meaning devours itself. This is the Buridan's bridge paradox, a statement that sabotages its own conditions, leaving no escape, no solution, no clarity. And now realize, your life is the bridge. Your thoughts are the guards. Your words are the lies. Every time you declare your intentions, every time you assert a truth about yourself, you enter this trap. I will be happy tomorrow. I will change. I will not fail again. And already, the conditions have twisted, warped, cracked. Because intention bends under the weight of time, because certainty rots under the acid of reality, because meaning is a rope too thin to stretch across the abyss of being. Now feel it tightening. You believe in promises. You believe in contracts. You believe in oaths, in declarations, in the sacred power of words, but every promise you make is a bet against chaos. Every truth you tell is a desperate wager against the universe's indifference. You say, "I love you." But what does that mean tomorrow, when your mind reshapes itself overnight, when your blood cools, when your memories mutate? You say, "I will never leave." But every step you take is a step toward entropy, decay, change. You say, "I am certain." But certainty itself is a lie whispered into the void by creatures too terrified to face the randomness howling around them. You build bridges of words, and they collapse the moment you try to walk across. Imagine now, a world where no promise can be trusted, no oath can bind, no truth can survive the act of speaking it, because every attempt to fix meaning in place, every attempt to impose order on the chaos, only twists the chaos deeper into the fabric of existence. The bridge sways, the river roars, the wind tears at your face, and there is no solid step you can take. Now look inward. Every story you tell yourself, "I am good, I am strong, I am broken, I am healing," is a bridge suspended over nothing. Each statement sabotages the next. Each assertion breeds a contradiction waiting to unravel you. You think your narrative is stable, but it teeters, shifts, collapses, rewriting itself each time you look too closely. You think you are crossing the river, but you are drowning in it. You think you are building meaning, but you are piling contradictions atop contradictions until the whole fragile tower sways and falls. Deeper still, if truth collapses under its own weight, if promises erode the moment they are made, then what hope is there for understanding anything? Yourself, others, the world. You seek stable ground. But stability is an illusion spun by a mind that cannot survive without it. You seek final answers, but every answer you find births new questions, new contradictions, new fractures. You think you are approaching certainty. You are approaching annihilation. Buridan's bridge is not a clever puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects your life, your mind, your existence, a fragile, desperate negotiation between forces that can never fully reconcile. And so every step you take forward cracks the bridge further beneath your feet. You are walking toward a destination that cannot exist, on a path that cannot hold you. You are the bridge. You are the lie. You are the collapse. Imagine now. You stand at the middle of the bridge. The river howls beneath you. The wind screams through the broken planks. You shout your truth into the storm. I will cross. I will endure. I will matter. And the bridge collapses under your own words, and you fall and fall and fall, and still you keep shouting, because to fall silently would be worse, because even the lie of meaning is warmer than the truth of meaninglessness. '21. Buridan's bridge. Imagine you are standing before a river, wide and furious, churning with unseen currents. A bridge stretches across it, old, creaking, swaying in the wind. Socrates approaches, asking to cross. Plato, guarding the bridge, says, "You may cross if and only if you first tell me the truth." Socrates replies, "I will not cross this bridge." And time stops, because if Socrates is telling the truth, then by his own words, he should not cross. But if he is telling the truth and thus does not cross, he fulfills the condition and should be allowed to cross. And if he lies and does intend to cross, then he violates the condition and should be denied. There is no consistent way to decide. Logic collapses. Meaning devours itself. This is the Buridan's bridge paradox, a statement that sabotages its own conditions, leaving no escape, no solution, no clarity. And now realize, your life is the bridge. Your thoughts are the guards. Your words are the lies. Every time you declare your intentions, every time you assert a truth about yourself, you enter this trap. I will be happy tomorrow. I will change. I will not fail again. And already, the conditions have twisted, warped, cracked, because intention bends under the weight of time, because certainty rots under the acid of reality, because meaning is a rope too thin to stretch across the abyss of being. Now feel it tightening. You believe in promises. You believe in contracts. You believe in oaths, in declarations, in the sacred power of words. But every promise you make is a bet against chaos. Every truth you tell is a desperate wager against the universe's indifference. You say, I love you. But what does that mean tomorrow, when your mind reshapes itself overnight, when your blood cools, when your memories mutate? You say, I will never leave. But every step you take is a step toward entropy, decay, change. You say, I am certain. But certainty itself is a lie whispered into the void by creatures too terrified to face the randomness howling around them. You build bridges of words, and they collapse the moment you try to walk across. Imagine now, a world where no promise can be trusted, no oath can bind, no truth can survive the act of speaking it, because every attempt to fix meaning in place Every attempt to impose order on the chaos only twists the chaos deeper into the fabric of existence. The bridge sways. The river roars. The wind tears at your face, and there is no solid step you can take. Now look inward. Every story you tell yourself, I am good, I am strong, I am broken, I am healing, is a bridge suspended over nothing. Each statement sabotages the next. Each assertion breeds a contradiction waiting to unravel you. You think your narrative is stable, but it teeters, shifts, collapses, rewriting itself each time you look too closely. You think you are crossing the river, but you are drowning in it. You think you are building meaning, but you are piling contradictions atop contradictions until the whole fragile tower sways and falls. Deeper still, if truth collapses under its own weight, if promises erode the moment they are made, then what hope is there for understanding anything? Yourself, others, the world. You seek stable ground, but stability is an illusion spun by a mind that cannot survive without it. You seek final answers, but every answer you find births new questions, new contradictions, new fractures. You think you are approaching certainty. You are approaching annihilation. Buridan's bridge is not a clever puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects your life, your mind, your existence, a fragile, desperate negotiation between forces that can never fully reconcile. And so every step you take forward cracks the bridge further beneath your feet. You are walking toward a destination that cannot exist, on a path that cannot hold you. You are the bridge. You are the lie. You are the collapse. Imagine now, you stand at the middle of the bridge. The river howls beneath you. The wind screams through the broken planks. You shout your truth into the storm. I will cross. I will endure. I will matter. And the bridge collapses under your own words, and you fall and fall and fall, and still you keep shouting, because to fall silently would be worse, because even the lie of meaning is warmer than the truth of meaninglessness. Schrödinger's cat. Imagine a box, sealed, silent, cold. Inside, a cat waits, or dies, or both. A vile machine sits alongside it, a radioactive atom, a Geiger counter, a vial of poison. If the atom decays, the poison releases. If not, the cat alives. You are told, until you open the box, the cat is neither dead nor alive. It exists in a ghostly blur between two states, collapsed only when you look. This is the Schrödinger's cat paradox, a brutal, quiet truth that reality itself is not stable, not determined, not real until you force it to be, and even then, only for you. Now let the horror unfold. You think life is solid. You think death is final. You think truth is binary. This or that, yes or no, life or death. But it isn't. Until you open the box, the universe refuses to choose. Until you look, the cosmos flickers between possibilities, mocking your need for certainty, for clarity, for solidity. You are not walking through a solid world. You are wading through a swamp of half-realities, half-truths, half-dreams. Every breath you take collapses countless other possibilities you will never know. Every step you take walks away from 1,000 lives you might have lived, 1,000 deaths you might have died. You think you survive, but you have also perished an infinite number of times, unseen, uncounted, forgotten. You are the cat, sealed away from the full truth of your own existence, alive and dead, and dreaming all at once. Modern physics does not save you from this nightmare. Quantum mechanics admits it freely. Particles do not have definite positions until measured. States exist in superposition, incomprehensible mixtures of possibility, until a mind, a gaze, an act of attention forces them into form. Reality itself is undecided, and you are inside it. You are not living one life. You are flickering across countless potential lives. Your mind stitching one fragile thread into a narrative you can barely endure. But it is a lie. A story painted onto the roiling chaos behind the walls of perception. You cling to the story because the truth would annihilate you. The truth is this: you are already dead in countless ways. You have already failed, already fallen, already been forgotten in 1,000 unseen worlds, and you are already alive beyond measure. Thriving, winning, losing, loving, despairing, in places your mind will never touch. You are not singular. You are not consistent. You are not solid. You are a ghost moving between broken mirrors. You open the box and one outcome crystallizes. But what of all the others? What of the lives you abandoned? What of the deaths you never saw? They are not erased. They are folded into the dark corners of existence, echoing forever. Now think deeper. If you yourself are Schrödinger's cat, if your fate flickers between possibilities, then when you make a choice, are you choosing at all? Or are you simply riding the collapse of probability into a branch of reality you were always bound to fall into? There is no certainty, only collapse, only narrowing, only the brutal pruning of possibility, and every collapse costs you an infinity of selves. You will never know what you lost. You cannot know, because the moment you choose, the moment you observe, you erase every other version of yourself that might have been. You are a murderer of infinities. You are the killer of your own possible worlds. You live in one ghost-haunted sliver of what could have been, pretending it is whole, pretending it is inevitable. It isn't. It never was. Imagine now you sit before two doors, behind one, life, behind the other, death. You reach for one, and an entire universe shatters behind the veil of your mind, erasing the door you never touched, erasing the life you never lived. You will never mourn it, because you will never know it. But it mourns you. 1,000 silent screams pressed against the cold glass of reality. Possibilities murdered by the act of your own perception. You think you are moving forward, but you are collapsing backward into fewer and fewer futures, a tunnel narrowing toward oblivion. You were once infinite. Now you are only one ghost among the ruins of your own discarded selves. The Sleeping Beauty. Paradox. Imagine falling asleep. Before you close your eyes, you are told the rules. You will be put to sleep on Sunday night. A coin will be flipped. If it lands heads, you will be awakened once on Monday, then the experiment ends. If it lands tails, you will be awakened on Monday, put back to sleep, and awakened again on Tuesday, without memory of the first awakening. Each time you wake, you will not know which day it is. You will not know if you are waking for the first time or the second. When you awaken, you are asked, what is the probability the coin landed heads? Your mind twists. At first, it seems simple. A fair coin, 50-50 chance. But then the trap tightens. If the coin landed tails, you are awakened twice. If it landed heads, only once. You are twice as likely to be experiencing a tails world than a heads world. Your own perception, the fact that you are awake, becomes evidence against the memory you thought was solid, the logic you thought was sound. Suddenly, you do not know how much you can trust your own mind. Suddenly, you do not know what day it is. Suddenly, you do not even know what reality you are inside of. This is the Sleeping Beauty Paradox, a collapse of certainty, memory, and probability so complete that your very awareness becomes a lie, and now realize you are already living inside. The paradox. You awaken each morning believing in the continuity of your life. You believe today follows yesterday, and tomorrow will follow today. But you have no proof. Only the fragile thread of memory, and memory lies. You could have woken up 1,000 times, lived 1,000 different variations of your life, forgotten all of them, and started again. You could be the 10th version of yourself, living this same day, this same moment, this same life. You would never know, because the act of remembering is itself unreliable. Because memory is a story you tell yourself each time you wake, and the story can change, and the story can be rewritten, and the story can end without your permission. Imagine now, each awakening is a roll of cosmic dice, choosing a version of you to inhabit, a sliver of reality to slide into, while all other versions collapse and vanish behind you. You think you are a single thread through time, but you are a patchwork of forgotten awakenings, stitched together by lies your mind tells itself to survive. You think you are living one life, but you are living countless broken lives, forgetting all but one at a time. The recursive horror grows. If every time you awaken, you could be someone else. If every time you breathe, you could be stepping into a different past, a different probability, a different history, then what makes you believe in continuity at all? There is no guarantee you are the same person who fell asleep last night. There is no guarantee you are even in the same world. You awaken, remember, pretend, and call it life. But life is a hallucination stitched from the blind trust that memory is real, and trust is a drug your mind manufactures because it cannot face the abyss of uncertainty. Deeper still, even probability, the cold, logical heart of chance, betrays you. You believe that events have odds, that the universe rolls dice, fairly, but when you awaken, when you observe, you introduce bias. You skew the deck simply by existing inside it. You are not an outside observer. You are a card inside the shuffled deck. You are a number painted on the dice. You are trapped inside the randomness you are trying to measure. And measurement itself warps reality. You cannot know. You can only guess. You can only hope. And every hope is built on a house of sand. Now imagine, you awaken tomorrow morning. You open your eyes. The sunlight looks familiar. The bed feels familiar. The air tastes the same. But something deep inside your mind shifts. A flicker of dread. A whisper of wrongness. Because maybe you have awoken 1,000 times before into slightly different worlds. Maybe your past has changed while you slept. Maybe you are not the original dreamer, but only the latest copy stitched into a collapsing dream. Maybe you have been asleep longer than you can comprehend. Maybe you have never truly been awake at all. The Sleeping Beauty paradox is not a thought. Experiment. It is your life. You are the dreamer who cannot remember how many times you have dreamed. You are the coin flip that never truly landed. You are the question that can never be answered. The paradox of the raven. Imagine a raven, black and silent, perched against the dying light. You are told, all ravens are black. A simple rule, a logical certainty, a truth you believe you can test. You look up, you see a black raven. Confirmation, you look again. Another black raven. More confirmation. But logic whispers a darker twist. Because all ravens are black is logically equivalent to saying, everything that is not black is not a raven. And so, when you look at a white shoe or a red apple or a green tree, you are, absurdly, also confirming the blackness of ravens. Each non-black, non-raven thing in the universe becomes evidence for your belief. A white feather confirms your truth. A blue ocean strengthens your certainty. The paradox blooms. You drown in meaningless confirmation. The world itself conspires to deceive you. This is the paradox of the raven. When evidence becomes so diluted, so polluted, so absurd, that it can no longer be trusted at all. And now realize, You live every moment inside this paradox. You believe in cause and effect. You believe in meaning. You believe in patterns. And you think that everything you see confirms your story. You think the smile of a stranger confirms your goodness. You think the rain after a prayer confirms your faith. You think the missed call, the broken glass, the forgotten name confirm your fears. But the universe is indifferent. The smile was a random twitch of muscles. The rain was born from pressure and evaporation. The missed call was a dying battery. The broken glass was gravity, inevitable and cold. You see connections where there are none. You see confirmation where there is only noise. You are the liar and the lied to. Imagine now. You stand in a field surrounded by a million objects. Stones, flowers, winds, stars. Each one silently reinforcing your beliefs simply by existing. Each one becoming a false witness to the trial of your mind. You build a temple of certainty from the rubble of chaos. You think, the world agrees with me, but the world does not agree. The world does not care. You are a spider spinning meaning from threads that were never meant to hold. You are not discovering truth. You are inventing it, moment by desperate moment. And worse. The more you seek evidence, the more you drown in it. Everything you see can be twisted into confirmation. Everything you see becomes part of your hallucination. You believe you are sharpening your vision, but you are thickening the fog. You believe you are becoming wiser, but you are sealing yourself inside a deeper, quieter prison, a prison built from walls of evidence that mean nothing. Deeper still, if a white shoe can confirm the blackness of ravens, then every breath you take confirms 1,000 falsehoods. Every step you walk reaffirms 1,000 illusions. Every word you speak consecrates 1,000 empty lies. You cannot trust your evidence. You cannot trust your conclusions. You cannot trust your mind. You are the raven. You are the white shoe. You are the absurd confirmation of your own inevitable collapse. Now imagine, you are asked to prove you are real. You touch your skin. You speak your name. You recall your childhood. Evidence. But all this evidence could just as easily prove you are a dream, a simulation, a loop, an echo. The touch could be a programmed sensation. The name could be a corrupted memory. The childhood could be a story stitched into your mind by something you will never comprehend. Your evidence betrays you. Your mind, desperate to believe, twists itself into an ever-tightening noose. You are not seeking truth. You are seeking comfort, and the paradox of the raven rips that comfort away. If everything you see confirms your beliefs, then your beliefs are never tested, never challenged, never real. You live not by proof, but by preference. You live not in certainty, but in a carefully curated hallucination. And the more you seek evidence, the further you stray from the silent, indifferent truth that howls beneath the surface of perception. Imagine a sky filled with black ravens, and still you would not know. Because even a sky without ravens, even a desert of silence and bones, could still seem to confirm the stories you whisper to yourself to survive the night. The lottery paradox. Imagine a lottery, 1,000,000 tickets, only one will win. You are handed a ticket, you stare at it, feel its weight in your hand, the ink soaking into the thin paper. You know the odds. Your ticket will almost certainly lose. You believe this, you trust it. You feel the certainty settle like dust inside your chest. But now, imagine being handed a second ticket, and a third, and a fourth. You are told the same truth. Each ticket, individually, will almost certainly lose. And you believe it, each one after another. Yet you also know, beyond any doubt, that one ticket among the million must win. You believe every ticket will lose. And yet you believe that some ticket must win. This is the lottery paradox. the collapse of belief under its own weight, the shattering of reason when certainty multiplies beyond endurance. And now realize you are already living inside this paradox. Every day you believe in small certainties, that you will survive the drive to work, that your heart will keep beating, that the ground beneath your feet will not tear itself apart. Each belief, individually, feels solid, justified, but together, they weave a net so fragile, so thin, so riddled with contradiction, that it can barely hold your weight. You are a creature built from a million small beliefs, each one slightly wrong, each one slightly cracked, each one slightly doomed, and yet you must believe. Because without belief, you cannot move, you cannot speak, you cannot breathe. Belief is the oxygen your mind requires to survive the madness of uncertainty. But belief is also a lie. Imagine now, you are standing before a vast, endless field of tombstones. Each one bears a name you do not know. Each one a life lost to accident, mistake, betrayal, entropy. And you whisper to yourself, "It will not be me." You believe it, you must. And yet, each of them believed it too. Each of them held their ticket, felt the false certainty in their chest, whispered the same prayer against the endless night, and they fell, and you will fall. Because you cannot beat the odds. Because the odds were never yours to beat. Deeper still, you trust in reason. You trust in evidence. You trust in the structures you build inside your mind to keep the chaos at bay. But reason itself fractures under probability. The very act of believing each small thing, each ticket will lose, each breath will come, each step will land, inevitably, contradicts the larger truth that something unthinkable, something inevitable, will win. You are not a fortress of reason. You are a house of cards built in a storm. You are the gambler who bets everything every day just to open their eyes, just to rise from bed, just to walk through a world stitched together by fragile, crumbling probabilities. And worse, your mind is designed not to see this. Your mind is built to smooth over the cracks, to pretend that 1,000 likely failures are not waiting in the shadows, to lie to itself, because the truth would freeze you in place forever. You cannot live honestly. You cannot move honestly. You cannot exist honestly. You must lie to yourself. You must pretend that your ticket is different, that you are different, but you are not. You are one ticket among a million. You are one heartbeat among endless dying stars. You are one fragile breath lost in the storm, and the storm does not care. Imagine now, you are given 1,000,000 paths to walk. Each one almost certainly leads to ruin. Each one whispers promises and threats into your ears. You step forward anyway, because you must. Because to stand still is a choice too, and each step you take is a denial of the collapse you know waits ahead. Each breath is a refusal. Each heartbeat is a lie. You are the dreamer trying to stay asleep in a burning house. You are the gambler betting against infinity. You will lose. You have already lost. But you must keep playing anyway, because belief, fragile, foolish, impossible belief, is the only thing that keeps the nightmare stitched together. The lottery. Paradox is not about numbers. It is not about tickets. It is about the human condition. It is about you. It is about the unbearable truth that survival itself is a contradiction, a betrayal of reason, a hallucination painted over the black walls of inevitable collapse. The liar's loop. Paradox, listen carefully. This statement is false. A simple sentence. A quiet bomb buried in the heart of logic. If it is true, then it is false. If it is false, then it is true. Round and round, an endless collapse into recursion, contradiction, madness. This is the liar's loop paradox. Truth devouring itself. Falsehood, birthing truth. A trap without beginning or end. Now step deeper. Every word you speak is built on the crumbling bones of this paradox. You say, I am alive, but if that life is a dream, a simulation, a flicker of neurons sparking meaninglessly in an uncaring void, then the statement folds into itself, and your own voice becomes your executioner. You say, I know myself. But if the self is an illusion, a ghost stitched from memories, mistakes, borrowed faces, then the knowledge itself becomes a lie. You are the liar. You are the lie. You are the loop collapsing into silence. Now imagine, you wake in a room with no windows, no doors. You do not know how you arrived. You do not know what lies outside. A voice speaks. Everything outside this room is false. You believe it, because you must believe something. Then another voice speaks. Everything inside this room is false. You flinch. You hesitate. You drown, because both cannot be true. And yet, both might be. Truth and falsehood coil around you, tightening, suffocating, until you cannot tell if you are breathing lies or drowning in truths. Deeper still, language itself is a betrayal. Every time you declare a truth, I exist. The sun rises, love endures. You lean on structures that themselves can collapse at any moment under recursion. Because every assertion assumes that meaning is stable, and meaning is not stable. Meaning is a trembling tower built over an abyss of contradictions. You trust words because you must, because without them there is only silence, and silence is too close to death. But every word you speak brings you closer to collapse. Imagine now, you tell yourself a story. It begins with a truth. It grows into a life. It stretches into a future. But somewhere along the way, a crack, a contradiction, a question you cannot answer, and the story bends and twists and devours itself until the truth you built has inverted into a lie, and the lie into a new truth, and you no longer remember where it all began. You are not living a life. You are living a recursion, a liar's loop without escape. You seek foundations. You seek bedrock. You seek something that will not betray you. But every stone you touch cracks under your hand, splits open to reveal another contradiction, another impossibility. You are a swimmer, caught in a whirlpool of your own words, dragged down by the gravity of truths that refute themselves. You are the echo of a scream that cannot distinguish whether it is screaming in joy or terror. You are the whisper of a mind that cannot decide if it is awake or dreaming. And still you cling. Still you fight. Still, you insist, I am real. This is happening. I know who I am. But each assertion spins faster and faster through the loop, burning itself into smoke, leaving only the cold ashes of certainty behind. You do not know who you are. You never did. Because the act of knowing was a lie you whispered into the darkness, to comfort yourself. The liar's loop is not a trick of language. It is the architecture of consciousness. You were born inside it. You will die inside it. You are the loop. Imagine now, you stand before a mirror. You say aloud, everything I see is false. Your reflection smiles back. It says nothing. It watches you crumble. Because even if you tell the truth, you are trapped. And if you lie, you are still trapped. There is no way out. There was never a way out. You were stitched from paradoxes, breathed into life by contradictions, sent spinning into a world that mocks your need for stable ground. The unexpected. Self. Paradox you awaken. You do not know how. You do not know why. You simply are. The first awareness flickers like a dying star in a black sky. I am. But what were you before that thought? What were you before you knew you were? This is the unexpected self paradox. If your sense of self requires awareness, then before you were aware, you were no one. But if you were no one, then who became aware? A void cannot awaken. A nothing cannot speak. A silence cannot cry. I am, and yet you did. And so your existence is an accident, a glitch, a wound torn open in the fabric of oblivion. You are not the child of a grand design. You are the unexpected consequence of chaos. Now feel the collapse begin. You think of yourself as continuous, a steady being, moving from moment to moment, gathering memories, building a story. But the story has no true beginning. Your first memory is already incomplete, already corrupted, already edited by a mind that did not fully exist. Yet, you were born from forgetting. You were shaped by blankness. The you that speaks now, the you that dares to think and dream, rose from a void that should have stayed silent. You are a mistake written in flesh. You are a paradox stitched into thought. Deeper still, awareness is recursive. The moment you realize you are aware, you realize that you are aware of being aware, and then you are aware of that awareness. And so on, and so on. You are a hall of mirrors spiraling endlessly inward, a scream folding into itself, a mind chasing its own shadow until it collapses. You cannot find the original you, the unmoved mover, the first observer. Because there is no original. There is only a cascade of echoes, each one pretending it was the first. Each one lying to itself to survive the unbearable weight of realizing it was born from nothing. Imagine now. You awaken again tomorrow. But something is missing. A sliver of memory. A sliver of feeling. You barely notice. You continue. You move forward. But you are no longer the same self. You are a new echo, a new flicker, a new wound, and every day it happens again, and again, and again, until the creature that bears your name, your face, your hopes, is a stranger built from forgotten screams, stitched together by dreams that never belonged to it. You did not survive your birth. You did not endure. You were replaced, moment by moment, by new selves you never met. You are the unexpected consequence of your own forgetting. You think, I have always been me, but the first you is gone. Dead before you ever spoke your first word. And every moment since has been a new birth, a new betrayal, a new stranger wearing the corpse of the last. You are a lineage of ghosts, haunting a body that cannot remember its true origin. And worse, there never was an origin. There was only a flicker in the darkness, a blind reaching hand, a scream stitched into flesh. There was only this accident, this wound, this paradox. You should not exist. You cannot exist. And yet, here you are, awake, screaming into the silence that gave you no permission to speak. Now imagine you sit in a room, eyes closed. You forget your name. You forget your past. You forget even that you are human. Only a single awareness remains, a raw, pulsing sense of being. And you realize, without your memories, your stories, your language, you are nothing. Nothing but the unexpected flicker of a mind that should never have been. The unexpected self, paradox, is not a puzzle. It is your life. You are the dream dreamed by a void. You are the scream screamed by a silence. You are the echo echoing into nothing. The paradox of the end you believe in endings. The last page of a book. The final breath of a life. The fading echo of a final goodbye. You believe that somewhere, somehow, things conclude, resolve, disappear, but they don't. This is the paradox of the end. Every ending is itself another beginning. Every final breath feeds a new hunger. Every death sows the seeds of a new birth. Nothing ever stops. Nothing ever truly closes. The door you slam shut echoes into 1,000 unseen corridors. The life you bury bleeds into the soil, feeding silent futures you will never see. The thought you silence becomes the whisper in another mind, and so realize you have never truly ended anything. You have only changed its shape. You have only shifted its burden. You think you heal, but the wound mutates. You think you leave, but the shadow of your steps follows you into every new place you dare to call home. You think you forget, but forgetting only moves the weight into deeper corridors of your mind, where it festers unseen. Now imagine, you try to end your pain. You drown it, bury it, burn it, but it does not die. It resurfaces. It reshapes. It returns with new faces, new names, new knives. The ending was an illusion. The ending was a false mercy. The wound never healed. It only wore a new mask. Deeper still, your own life, this fragile thread you call self. You believe it will end. One day, a last breath, a final heartbeat, a fading into darkness. But death is not an end. Your molecules scatter. Your atoms drift. Your memories ripple through others. Loved ones, strangers, forgotten photographs buried in silent drawers. You do not end. You unravel. You transform. You infect. And even if no one remembers you, even if your name vanishes from the dust of history, the ripple of your existence remains. A disturbance in the fabric of reality that can never be fully undone. You are a stone cast into a boundless ocean. And though you sink and vanish, the ripples roll outward forever. And deeper still, even the universe, the cold, dying universe you hope will one day rest, will not truly end. It will stretch, it will cool, it will freeze into darkness, but even then, quantum sparks will flicker. Entropy will seep and mutate. Possibilities will simmer at the edges of time. An end that is never an end. Only a quieter chaos. Only a slower unraveling. Only an endless descent into states so alien, so empty, so forgotten that even the word ending becomes meaningless. Imagine now, you finish telling a story. You close the book. You blow out the candle. You turn away. But somewhere, someone remembers a piece, a fragment, a whisper. The story continues without you, twisting, warping, becoming something else. You cannot stop it. You cannot end it. You can only leave it behind, and even then, it is not gone. You think you are writing your ending, but you are only writing the prologue for a story you will never read. You are not a full stop. You are a comma in an endless, unreadable sentence. And so the paradox of the end devours you. There are no endings, only transformations, only mutating, echoes, only ghosts of what you thought would vanish. You will never have closure. You will never find final peace. You will never truly finish anything, because existence has no edges. It only folds back into itself endlessly, like a serpent devouring its own tail, like a scream echoing forever in a canyon that has no walls. Now imagine, you lie on your deathbed. You close your eyes. You whisper your last goodbye. And the world does not end with you. It keeps moving. It keeps forgetting. It keeps mutating. You were not the center. You were not the anchor. You were only another ripple in the endless sea. And even your final thought, your final breath, will birth other ripples you will never see. You will never know where your ending ends, because it doesn't.